Okay, Judge Antcliff, you're a candidate for the
168th District
168th,
Court.
the one nobody ever is going to remember because there's just too many courts. So tell us what that court does.
That's a general jurisdiction court that handles felony criminal offenses and all civil matters.
Okay, so you know, as a judicial candidate, you really can't get too much into issues, but tell voters why you feel you're best qualified for the position.
I think in any judicial race, all judicial races for that matter, are based on experience, qualifications, and temperament. Those are the three big factors in any judicial race, in my opinion. And I have each of those qualities in abundance over my opponent, in this case, Mr. Lizarga. I've been on the bench now for 3 years. I think that during that period of time, I've demonstrated that I have the temperament to do the job. The bar poll that was done on this specific race when Christine Pacheco was still in it, right before the primary, I won with better than 60% of the vote.
Did you win it last time too? When you
I did. It's not like it's a big bellwether, I understand that. But I won it over Judge Arditi and all the rest of the people in that race. There were 5 or 6 candidates in at the time, and I got better than half the vote at that point. In terms of experience, obviously I've got 3 years on the bench. I've got about 12 years as a lawyer here in town. I've handled an awful lot of high-profile cases. I had 2 years as a clerk for Judge David Briones before that. All of those things prepared me well to take the bench, and that's what I've done. And the governor showed an abundance of confidence in me when he appointed me a second time after I lost the first race for the 448.
The first race, what do you attribute your loss to last time? You lost to someone who eventually became indicted on other charges. So what do you think was it the defining factor in the last race?
Well, I think it was a multiple of things. It's where we live. I understand that I live in El Paso County, which is heavily Democratic. The Obama tsunami was rolling over the country at the time, and that certainly contributed to it. Straight party polls in this town were really heavy during that election. But it's not to say, I mean, if you backed out all of the straight party polls in that election in my race, I would have still lost. So I think it was a confluence of events. At the same time, this year is almost polar opposite of what went on in the country. The difference is it's El Paso. I think that I have a better chance, a Republican has a better chance of winning a judicial race in this town this year than they have in 25 years. People are not as happy as they were at the time with Obama. There's been a lot of changes in the country. They're dissatisfied with the economy. They're tending to throw out long-term incumbents, and to some degree that may help me. I don't know.
Of the previous factors that you said that you attributed your previous loss to, the only factor that's changed is the president's popularity. How much of an impact do you think that's going to have, and is that going to be enough to overcome the discrepancy between registered Democrats and registered Republicans?
Maybe. Certainly the president's popularity affects how people come out to vote, and in the last several elections, school boards and the TRE that EPISD did, I think that those have shown that people are staying home. And obviously, low turnout favors an incumbent, and it favors me this time. There is also the Margot Moody race, which is on the ballot. I think that will draw voters out, and hopefully a lot more Republicans in District 78 will vote Republican this time. That was a difference. A lot of people that tended Republican in District 78 in 2008 voted Democrat.
Or stayed home.
Yeah. And so,
right. So do you think that you'll benefit from this reinvigoration of the Tea Party movement going on now?
You know, I don't know. That movement is going on here in El Paso. I'll tell you what. I'm here right now at the Republican headquarters, and I've never seen this many people at a Republican event.
Enthused and organized than quite some time.
The party is more organized now than it ever has been in El Paso. I would say that. Absolutely true.
What do you think is a defining factor between you and your opponent?
I got to go back to experience and qualifications and temperament. He is a long-term prosecutor, and I'm a long-term defense lawyer. I've got 3 years on the bench over him. That clerkship for Judge Briones was invaluable, and that's not an experience that he has. And the temperament that I've developed over the course of my career is something that he has not had an opportunity to do. I think those three things matter more than anything.
Do you think at all that you might benefit from folks kind of revisiting their decision between you and Arditi after seeing what happened to Arditi and think, well, maybe they should give you a second look?
There are a lot of Democrats who have talked to me over the last, say, 60 days about their disappointment with the state of the judiciary in El Paso right now. And I got to tell you, on the whole, our judiciary is really good. I think that overall, it's as good as any in the state. But like any profession, you have a couple of bad apples, and Judge Barraza definitely hurt the reputation of the judiciary. The allegations against Judge Arditi are harming that reputation as well. She's certainly innocent until proven guilty. I would want my trial as quickly as possible were I her. But I think that people are looking at that specific issue, and we'll see how much it benefits me.
Outside of friends and family, who are your top 3 contributors to your campaign?
They're all lawyers. I have not accepted any contribution from somebody I don't know, and so I would say that my top contributors are all attorneys.
Now that's been an issue that's been a little bit controversial lately, where people have questioned whether or not it's appropriate for attorneys to provide political contributions to judges that they will then hear cases in front of, and it's something discussed far more on the Democratic side because, frankly, most of the judges are Democrats. Your thoughts on that?
Well, the Supreme Court has spoken on that issue in the West Virginia case that came out earlier this year.
Right, Judge, I'm not talking about the legalities. I mean, the gut check. I mean, does it pass the smell test?
Campaign contributions? Yeah, I think so. Unless those contributions are excessive, I absolutely think that's the way we do business in the state of Texas. The Constitution mandates that we elect our judges. It costs money to run a campaign, and I don't see anything wrong with it.
What has been the most challenging part of the race so far for you?
You know, there's not much going on in our race. I think that by the end of the month, early September, things will heat up. But getting the word out to voters is probably the single most challenging issue in any judicial race. We're down on the ballot. People don't know who we are. They see signs around town and they hear about it, but they don't know you. And you know, in a legislative race, the candidates are allowed to talk about specific issues that voters identify with. In a judicial race, you can't do that, and so it's hard for people to identify with a judge.
Judge, final question. What message would you give to voters when they're making a decision between you and your opponent on why they should select you over your opponent?
I would give a couple of specific items. First, experience, qualifications, and temperament matter. Party affiliation does not matter, and I recognize that it's easy for me to say that where I'm a Republican in a, overwhelmingly Democratic county. But I would say that it's true of a Democrat in Odessa, Texas as well, or Midland. I think party affiliation doesn't matter. When you're elected, nobody's ever asked me, what would my party do? Or what does the party say you should decide in this case? That's not how it works. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat on the bench. I'm a judge. I follow the law, and that's what people ought to know